Hello there. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Hello there. Most welcome to Heart and Soul, where we explore sports and faith. Today we're tackling a very important topic: spirituality and human behavior in sports. And we have just a man in the studio to do the discussion. Dr. Newman Arthur is our guest today. He's a clinical psychologist and a senior medical officer of the University of Professional Studies Medical Directorate. He's actually the acting director. And Doc is in the studio to do the discussion. Good day, most welcome, Doc.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Great to have you. I need to quickly add that I'm being clothed by GL Designs, all the way from Dansuman Runabout. Whenever you are thinking about clothing customized to suit your taste, you only think about GL Designs. Contact them and they'll be able to give you a nice, beautiful outfit like we have in the studio for all occasions, ceremonial wear, for casual wear, and what have you. Contact them, as I continue to say, so that you'll be able to get, something that will just suit you in all that you do. You can contact them on the phone line, that's 0241-115-017 for a lot more. All right, so Doc, let's delve into the topic at stake here. When we talk about spirituality and human behavior in sport, what exactly are we talking about?
So generally, we're looking at how the connection between people's spirituality and their performance when it comes to sports. Because usually when those things come up, people are thinking about winning games, doing their best. Not just that, also sustaining, in terms of your performance, the connections that you should have, and also injury.
Okay.
So a lot of people get involved, try to do that connection because of all that. Because there is a belief, people have the belief that there is a third hand that is responsible for success generally, and it's no different from some perceptions when it even comes to health and spirituality, because spirituality permeates, everything. People open shops and they have to do something about the shop. People are selling things, food, and they have to do something about the food. People are selling clothes, they have to do something, because there is that belief that there is something, bigger and beyond. Okay. And those belief systems are not wrong. I'm a Christian. I believe whatever the Bible says. So I know that there is God. I know that God has, influence in the affairs of men. But in the discussion, we need to situate, the issues well, so that we will know exactly how to, bridge the two. I think the problem is how to bridge the two, and where we assign, some reasoning to. That is where the problem is, all over, whether it's in health and all that. So it has a history a bit when it comes to spirituality. Before, in the Dark Ages, the 5th, 6th century up to about 16th century, where there was not much, scientific discovery about many things. People actually assigned every event to a supernatural cause. So even for illness, if someone was unwell, they had to go and look into it to find out what was behind it. So,
even in Europe and other places.
Yes, all over.
The Dark Ages.
Yes, so before research, all those scientific findings. Okay. So during that time, when anybody was unwell, they actually consult, the priestesses, the priests, and all that to look into it. Wow. So even in Ghana, you realize that when someone is unwell or something happens and they don't understand, they will say, "Yeah, koshishemu."
No, but you said that is in the Dark Ages. But even currently...
No, so I'm coming to that. So a lot of things have persisted till now.
Yes.
So during that time, even in health, when anybody was unwell, they thought that maybe punishment from God, they thought that maybe curse from somewhere, or maybe the person's wrongdoing, so a consequence of wrongdoing and stuff like that. So when they were unwell, instead of going for a certain kind of medication, they would actually want to pray or do something about it. That is where exorcism and all that. There was even a practice called trephination, where they make holes in the skulls of the person so that the demons can escape. Whoa. Think about it, you're unwell, maybe you have a headache or something, they go whack your head so that the demons will escape. So there was this typical, understanding of what spirituality is. But as, research and all kinds of findings, scientific findings, even now sports is science. There's something called sports science, where they use all kinds of scientific tools to be able to study happenings, things that happen around us. So around the, industrial revolution and age of enlightenment, since 17th, 18th, 19th century, century thereabout, there was dramatic change everywhere. Sports, politics, industries, finance, all kinds of things, including health. And that is where all the studies and stuff began. All the scientific studies of human body and all those things began around that time. So that time they threw away the typical understanding of what spirituality is and its relationship with health. Now they started training doctors, nurses, and all these pharmacists, and actually went into drugs and drug production. Though it was there, but it wasn't as much as that time. So at that time, that age of enlightenment changed a lot of things and shifted people's focus from spiritual causes of things to the physical causes of things.
Okay. I'm just trying to link this to sports, and we have the Did You Know segment. You just led us right into the Did You Know segment, where we try to get you some information from a sports context. And from this, I'm going to ask you another question.
Yes.
If we can get the graphics rolling, for us to just trace it back. So during the 19th century, Victorian Christianity in the UK had a great influence in the shaping of the modern game of football, especially in the founding of clubs like Everton, Tottenham Hotspur, Queen's Park Rangers, Southampton, and Aston Villa. Many of the clubs were founded by Bible classes and church hall groups. The church argued that there was a positive moral influence in physical exercise and sport.
I think health is four-dimensional,
yes,
right? Physical, mental, social, and spiritual. That is the current, definition of health. In the 1948, they said physical, mental, and social, and not just the absence of disease and infirmity.
Okay.
But in the 1980s...
You mentioned four.
So it's four, but it started from somewhere.
Okay.
So in the 1948, when they were defining health, it ended at three: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Because of the world wars and all that, mental health and social issues became serious with physical health issues, okay, right? So in the 1980s and 1990s, they went back to spirituality because there was a recognition that there is a fourth force that influences people's health significantly, and their lives everywhere, whatever they do, influences them significantly. And so they added that to health, definitions of health.
Wow.
So that is why health is four-dimensional. So spirituality is actually taught in some medical schools.
Okay. I've done some studies recently trying to define what is spirituality and religion. Has become a little bit problematic, yes, according to the scholars, and it's down to the New Age teachings.
Yes.
So in this context, what is your definition of spirituality? Okay,
there are some four statements or definitions that I would want to quickly read. It actually expands it,
yeah,
and it helps in the understanding well. Let me quickly read it. Right. The first one talks about, it says that spirituality is the aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose. Right. And the way they experience their connectedness to the moment, to self, to others, to nature, and significant or sacred. I'll come to that in a minute. 2, spirituality means any experience that is taught to bring the experiencer into contact with the divine. In other words, not just any experience that feels meaningful. 3, the spiritual dimension tries to be in harmony with the universe and strives for answers about the infinite, and comes into focus when the person faces emotional stress, physical illness, or death. So what this one expands spirituality, right, to meaning and purpose. To quest for self-actualization, to general belief systems, connectedness to the divine. Then you can have right and wrong, rights and sacred things, and that is where religion comes in. Mm-hmm. So someone can practice spirituality, but not necessarily religion.
Exactly.
So religion basically becomes a subset of spirituality. But generally, spirituality always focuses on something beyond the physical self. And it comes into question when people are faced with some difficulty, and something that is unknown. So that is what football does. Football is very challenging. When you are going to the park, you don't know the outcome. 2, it's very, very stressful. 3, you can be injured. And also, it goes beyond just kicking of the football, but it goes into fame, into fortune, into things like that. And all those things seem to be National pride. So
things.
it's war. You know, look at what happened between Nigeria and Ghana.
I want you to watch something. I mean, this, I don't know what you call it, whether it was voodoo, art play. I mean, we took this video from the internet, and Doc, I just wanted you to have a look at it. So this is a football game. So one man goes on the field, sprinkles an object on the goal line, and then what happens next is a subject of the discussion we're having here. Throws whatever he wants to do, and then somebody else on the other touchline, you just see that very carefully, he's also going to do his own thing in the same goalpost. I mean, this is brazen. Everybody's seeing it. They're all just, trying to show where their powers are, and then eventually it results in fisticuffs. But this is just down to the extreme. You see this other man with his red with a stick and then a red, thread down. And so this is what we are talking about.
Spirituality, religion. So the belief that there is I am a Christian. I believe God. I believe God influences things.
Okay.
But we need to situate how success happens.
Okay.
And for example,
now it gets really ugly.
And they'll fight. So let me give you a classic. The health thing I talked about, physical, mental, social, and spiritual, is in the Bible. Luke chapter 2, verse 52. And Jesus increased in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God, favor with men. Wisdom is mental, stature is physical, favor with God is spiritual, favor with man is social.
Okay.
So even the Bible acknowledges that there are 4 dimensions about the human, experience and even success.
Okay.
So if you look at carefully, right, should always be a balance between divine efforts and human efforts.
A balance. All right. But these guys on screen here, they're only thinking about, I don't know how you're going to describe it from a clinical psychologist.
So this one, the behavior, religion and religious practices and all that influences how people think,
yes,
gives them a certain hope and drive, and there is also a certain tangible divine influence in people's experiences that you cannot explain. For example, someone goes to church, very, very sad, maybe depressed,
yes,
right? After service, the person is fine,
yeah,
and the person is cool for life. What happened to the person? So you may have all those experiences there, but you need to situate it in a way that is not too extreme, because the Bible talks about work and talks about faith. Faith without works is dead. And that is where the problem is. The same Bible will talk about, it's God who gives the power to become, to make wealth. Mm-hmm. It's the same Bible that will tell you that a hand that does not work does not eat. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So you may have someone who may be spiritually strong, but physically weak. Yeah. Because physical illnesses and diseases has its own causes and how to. For example, if you're drinking all over the place, alcohol, you are drinking all over the place. No prayer can change the liver disease. Because you are in contact with physical things, though there are some spiritual influences. And we can't also deny that there are some spiritual, implications to everything that happens around us. But people need to situate it in the right context. That there is always a healthy balance between physical and the spiritual. There is always a healthy balance between divine efforts and human efforts. So, for example, you're going to school. Instead of studying, you won't study, you are praying. You will fail.
TB Joshua says, he was contacted ahead of a Nigeria's crunch game with an opponent, and they asked him, what he thought. He said they should play the game as if everything depends on them. So work as hard as you can, and then pray as if everything depends on the prayer. That's his methodology.
Yeah, so that is the balance that we're looking at. We acknowledge that there is God and we need God in all our ways. It says in all our ways acknowledge Him, you direct your path. We need divine influence because human beings are virtually nothing. Without help we are virtually useless. Things are very, very difficult. So there is this healthy partnership between God and man. And also the limitation also comes depending on the kind of spirituality you subscribe to. and the implications of that. Because now, for example, in African religion, when people, for example, go to church, right, there is what the church teaches in terms of even when it comes to sin and restitution and forgiveness and all that, grace and all that. So people have a certain way of living when they come to church, right? When you also go to the African traditional religion, where you go have to go swear or serve a certain smaller god, right? The implications are different. You know, the consequences they will talk about is very, very different. So even when it comes to football, depending on what people subscribe to, can either make things, they are fighting because of where they think they are coming from. That is why they are fighting. Imagine they had gone, and you know, players sometimes hold their hands and pray. There's no fight. But the moment all these things come up, then there becomes a contention between, you know, two opposing forces, you know, trying to influence a system, which may never be. The outcome of the game may never be, because all kinds of players do all kinds of things, yet they go and they lose matches.
Okay, we're going to do a break shortly, but I want to ask a question. So what is the work of a clinical psychologist, let's say, in team sports? This is a mindset of the people. This is what they think, you know, is going to win them the game. How do you change it? How do you bring a positive twist to it?
So psychology is on 3 levels: how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. Thinking, feelings, and behavior. So the core of our job, most of the time, is to help people think well, so that they can feel a certain way. Then it will affect their behavior, because how you think influences how you feel, and how you feel influences how you behave. Let me give you an example. In this work environment, not everybody may like you. Some people like you, some people don't. So it is not you who is the problem. It is how people think about you. Some people may have heard something about you, but the moment they get close to you, they say, no. So how they felt about you may change because of a certain thinking. You know, so in sports, they have sports psychologists, they have people to help them, you know, prime them up, to encourage them, to put something positive in their mind, to deal with their own interpersonal problems and issues that can come in the bear. For example, someone going to play football who is depressed, they won't be able to concentrate and perform. Someone who is stressed, has issues on their minds, they cannot. So a clinical psychologist or a sports psychologist may look at all that, the person, how are they thinking, how are they feeling, how are they behaving, and how is that going to affect their performance. Now, there are 2 words, you know, absenteeism and presenteeism. Right, presenteeism has different, definitions about it. But one of them I like has to do with the fact that, you know, absenteeism means you didn't show up at work. Presenteeism means that you are at work but you are not effective. You are not there. You are there but you are not there. And most of the time it's because of mental health issues. So before anybody can give in their best, they should be mentally healthy. How they think, how they feel, and how they behave. And that is where we come in.
All right. Yes. That's where you come. I mean, he's just the right man for this discussion. We'll have to do a quick break, and when we come back, there will be a lot more discussion. Some case studies, looking at the Starlet 95 team, and what the ex-captain of that team, Emmanuel Pentel, has said concerning that team and how they were able to annex the trophy, plus some other details after this. All right, most welcome to Hearts and Soul. I just need to acknowledge that I'm being clothed by GL Designs at Dansoman Roundabout, just adjacent to the Club 250 Hotel. And it's a home of quality designs, African prints, and clothing for all seasons. So in the studios, Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur has been talking to us about absenteeism and presenteeism. That's what I remember from the last set that we had. But jumping into it, and we want to show you this graphics. This is a classic story from African Soccer Magazine. It's like you and somebody going to clash at some girlfriend's place, and then, you know, 2 people going for 1 woman. But in this particular one, I mean, we're talking about a miracle healer's place. So top Zimbabwean clubs clash at traditional healer's house. On June 1st, 2001, the Sunday Mail reported a clash involving a number of top football clubs at a traditional healer's house in Headlands, about 110 kilometers from the Zimbabwean capital, Harare. The clubs were Black Rhinos, Dynamos, Highlanders, Blackpool, Black Aces, and Rufaro Rovers. Can you imagine? All of them going to seek one man out. And so how does this man help all these clubs at the same time? There's a whole lot of confusion surrounding this, you know, spirituality and human behavior in sports. But this is a classic story, and we needed to show you this. And
so in cases like that, it will come down to your preparation and performance.
That's what is going to decide.
That's what's going to decide.
This miracle healer cannot do that much.
And think about it. A lot of things teams do, in order to win.
Okay.
And I say that every team is supposedly praying to God. Who does God listen to? Most of the time, I realize that it's just that we don't know that most of the time God needs us to be able to do anything He wants to do. So it comes down to what preparations are you putting in place. Otherwise, we don't need coaches. We don't even need to bring people who have experience, in playing football.
Okay.
If it was all boiled down to spirituality and that is what determines the final outcome, then every match, I'm sure Ghana will win.
Okay.
Because I know some people even fast and pray and stuff like that. But sometimes I'm sure God is even not even watching anything. That's what I believe. God is not even interested in.
Doc, let's watch this clip. This was from season 1 of Heart and Soul. I had this interview with Salad 95 captain Emmanuel Pentel, and he speaks about the fact that when he was younger at coast level, they would go to the beach 12 midnight to consult the oracles. They saw all sort of things, maame water, and then a bit later on, the Starlet 95 team to some other things happened. Just a short clip to get the gist of it.
Stephen Appiah had one.
Yeah, Stephen Appiah was also part of that team.
Atakra Menapo had one. Abu Idrisu had one. Most of us, Chasalote had one. Christian Jan, I'm not sure, but I think he also did. So it's like most of the players. Audu Isaka, I guess he also had one. And,
what about somebody who says others that we are saying might not be true, and that so once you were football players, you were most likely to get injured at some point in time, and the knee is a very important part of the body. So,
but not like the way the whole group were able to, and most of us, we ended up because of the knee injury. So it's kind of like something that he did.
And they all point to the Wanchindi, the area football games. We were playing the coast football. That is how it started. The drive to win a game at all costs meant that team owners would go to any extra length to see spiritualists, to see pastors, go to Benin for voodoo, go to any place whatsoever, black magic and whatsoever, to be able to win. And in your case, did you also experience that even from the very youthful level?
Yes, I did. As you said, the Munchendi and the Coast teams that I played, we went to certain places for, ritual, like to win games. And I remember even when I was playing in Choco, Munchendi, we used to go to the beach midnight, maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, to the whole team. We have to go together and pray, stay in the prayer, and then they will pray and call like a saint, and sometimes we can hear things, noise or something will come out from the sea, and it's real. But
something will come from the sea.
Yeah,
like what?
Like maame water, something, stuff like that.
You actually saw things?
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, with my eyes, with the whole team group in the at the beach. That was like Kolegono, around that Kolegono beach area. Yeah. So.
Well, when small boys and 13, 14 are going to the beach at 12 midnight and they are reporting that they are seeing maame water spirit and things like that, you've got to be concerned as a parent or as a guardian.
I think so. This is not the first time I'm hearing something like that.
Oh, okay.
Football, I don't want to mention the club. One of them actually spoke to me about the fact that, those things happen. And I think they even had to, at some point, midnight, 12, walk naked through a certain roundabout, in the midnight, before they went home. So I think that, there are a lot of things that happen. Even for footballers, sometimes on TV you watch them having some, some strange beat, talisman and all that. So spiritism, spirituality, things like that are embedded in the core of the human experience. We cannot deny that there is something called spirituality. Even health, research has shown that those who are spiritual, not the typical spirituality people know, not religious, but those who are spiritual, You know, it improves health outcomes. They don't die early. You know, they recover better. You know, they have this, what do you call it, better perspective to life. You know, their symptoms, psychological symptoms are improved, it's better. So spirituality is so critical and so important in our human experience. Just that we need to situate it in a way that is not too extreme or, you know, cannot benefit us. Because, for example, if you've been going to all those places and yet you still lose, why still do it?
And he makes allusions to the knee injury, so-called knee injury curse. A lot of the players of that era getting knee injuries. And
well, it may never be that. If they are not gone there, they may not be able to attribute it to that. But so far as there's been some kind of, you know, connection to that previously, then I'm sure a lot of footballers may not even have confidence in their skill when they are going to the park because of all those things.
Yeah.
They may not, yes.
Let's read this from Francis Otiakinten, still talking about this same issue. He was the assistant Glass Sallet coach of 1995. Now, he says this about the specific pastor. He said, we visited Pastor Isaac Kwa before we departed for Ecuador. He prayed for us. I led a team there because that's where I fellowship and had faith and believe in the man of God. He assured us of World Cup success, but we also knew how to pray. And so we did, and we also put in hard work into the competition. And that also contributed to the success we chalked. But not because the pastor prayed or prophesied. That's why we won.
I have a lot of problems with I don't think that a true man of God will curse someone, you know, if the person doesn't come and show gratitude.
Okay.
You know, even the Bible says, love your enemies and pray for them, so that you be like your Father who is in heaven. So I really don't believe in those things. A growing Christian who really knows who God is, I think,
should not be cursed.
No. You won't even think about it. We must be agents of. We must bless people. If you hear anybody who says they are a prophet, pastor, and they curse people, then they are something else apart from what the Bible says. The knee injury may be something else. Obviously, if you have been running all around, even those people outside Europe, and they all have knee injuries.
Yeah.
They may have their own form of spirituality, actually. Sometimes we think that Europeans and Americans, they are deeply religious. If you look at China, they are deeply religious.
Yeah.
No, India, all of them are deeply religious. The only thing is that I think that they apply a lot more wisdom than we do in this part of the world.
Doc, there's just so much to talk about. I think we need to get you back another time. There's just so much to talk about, especially with the Black Stars, and I mean, we need to get these answers. So I want to thank you again and for your time, making time to come here to talk about these issues. A clinical psychologist and a senior medical officer of the University of Professional Studies Medical Director. He's actually the acting director, so we had to pull him, you know. That very much sums up Heart and Soul today. I say life is a test, it's a trust, it's very temporal. So seek your maker while you have your breath. Give your life to Christ, and much acknowledgement going to GL Designs for my outfit today. So you can stay with us. We'll definitely be back with another edition of Heart and Soul. Bye for now.